In this video, I'm going to teach you how to go from cold approach to hooking up on basically the first date. Right. And hey, shout out to one of my subscribers who asked me to do this video. So I'm going to reveal the 3 things you need to look for that to be successful, to go from cold approach to hooking up on the first date. All right. If you're new to my channel, welcome. My name is Kane. I'm the Silver Bachelor. This channel is 100% dedicated to dating advice for older guys. If you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button and the notification button because I'm dropping video every day. All right. How do you go from cold approach to hooking up on the first date? All right. So I'm going to share 3 stories specifically where this was successful for me. This is not the case most times. It is very difficult to go from cold approach to hooking up on the first date, okay, if you're not paying for it. So you're not paying for it and you have met, this is cold approach. This is not a dating app. So this is meeting a woman and you sleep with her that night. You're meeting a woman out in the wild and you sleep with her that night. Okay. Again, like I said, this has been very rare occurrences for me, but there's 3 things, 3 stories that when I got this request to do this video, I was like, shit, that's right. There's 3 things that I didn't even pick up on. And that's what I'm going to share with you today that were all similar in these 3 instances. And again, it's rare to be able to go from cold approach to hooking up, but it is possible if you look for these 3 things. So I'm going to just use these 3 things right now, and then I'm going to share the story and explain these, okay? So number 1 is she's traveling for work or for fun. Traveling, right? Number 1. Number 2, obviously, she's into you, okay? And then number 3, she's only in town for a few days. So she's traveling, she's into you, and she's only in town for a few days. Now I'm going to explain all that, and I'm going to give you some stories, but that's the only situation where you have the highest chance of being successful with cold approach and hooking up. Okay. So 3 stories specifically. I'm going to tell you a story of what happened to me in Vegas, in Toronto, Canada, and in Atlanta. Okay. And they all had this in common. So Vegas, I went there for work for a conference. And one night we're at Caesar's Palace, at the bar in Caesar's Palace. And all my colleagues decided to check out, go to bed early. And it was like 10 o'clock or something like this. So I'm at the bar by myself. And I see these 2 women. They were not prostitutes, okay? Because there's a lot of prostitutes in Vegas. And believe me, guys, if you haven't been to Vegas, oh, you think the women are into you and they're looking, they're making eye contact. Most of them are prostitutes, and damn, it's like, anyways. So I'm at the bar and I see 2 women there, and one of the women says, "Oh, you smell great." And I was wearing Bleu de Chanel Eau de Parfum, the perfume or the cologne. Well, it's unisex. And so we engage in conversation. She was attractive, and so we're hitting it off, we're teasing each other, whatever, whatever. And she's like, "Oh, so what brings you to Vegas?" And by the way, Vegas, almost everyone there is traveling for some course. So if you want to cold approach and pick up, Vegas is the place, but watch out for the prostitutes, okay? So we hit it off, and she tells me right away, she's like, "You know what? I just let you know, you seem really nice, but I'm married." And I look at her, I'm like, "Okay, that's fine. This trip is for fun. You need to have fun, and it doesn't matter to me if you're married." And she's like, "Okay." So again, she's traveling for work, she's there for fun, she's into me, and she's only in town for a few days because I asked her, I said, "When are you leaving?" She's like, "Oh, I'm leaving in 2 days or whatever." So she was there with her sister. Her sister wasn't feeling well. Her sister decides to go back to her hotel room, and I'm thinking, "Oh, this is my opportunity." So I go in and I say, "Hey, look, how do you like Vegas? Do you want to go someplace for another drink?" And she said, "Great." So now it's about like midnight, 1 in the morning, and then I just simply popped the question to her, and I said, "Hey, look, um, do you want to have a nightcap at my place?" And like obviously in this case, I'm not going to say I don't have any expectations because clearly I'm looking to hook up. But I said, look, I have some prosecco. Do you want to have a nightcap at my place, and we can have a drink and maybe cuddle, something like that. Something I can't remember exactly what I said. So she said yes, and we went back to my place, had an amazing time, great sex, and then she left the next day. Right? So in that situation, I was beside her. You might argue and say, well, Silver Bachelor, that wasn't really cold approach because she complimented you first. But yeah, it's semantics, right? So I'm there beside her. But basically, the moral of the story is, well, you need to be there ideally by yourself and look for women that are standing there by themselves or they're with friends, and you need to smell good. Okay, so that's Vegas. Toronto and Atlanta, total cold approach. So check this out. So Toronto, I was there again, and I was staying in a hotel, and I was there for business. And I see this woman in the lobby with a bunch of friends sitting down on some chairs, and I thought she was really cute. So I'm sitting there by myself because I was waiting to meet. I had a drink. I ordered a drink at the bar in the lobby, and I was having my drink, and I see her with a whole bunch of her friends. So I decide, okay, I grab my drink and I walk up and I say, "Hi," and all the friends look at me and they're like, "Hi," and I said, "Hey, I know this is totally random, and I make eye contact with the girl that I like. I said, look, I think you're really pretty and wanted to ask if I can join you and have my drink and sit with you guys." And they're like, "Oh yeah, yeah, cool." So I sit down, I'm having a drink, and she's all she's all giggly, right? And her friends are like, kind of tapping her on the shoulder and stuff like, "Oh, this guy," right? So I'm getting to know them, and she's traveling for work. She's there for a conference, and she's only there for a few days. And so I said, "Hey, look, I'm going out to dinner with my colleagues, but I'm probably going to be back around 10 or 11. Are all of you going to be sitting here, still be here at that time?" So then she says, "Well, I'm not sure where we're going, but why don't we get together later?" I'm like, "Okay." So we exchange phone numbers. I text her later and I say, "Hey, I'm on my way back to the hotel." So she was there at the hotel by that time, still with her friends. We're hanging out. And then eventually the bar at the hotel closes. I'm like, "Oh, shit." So I said, "Look, the bar's closing at the hotel. Does anyone have alcohol at their place?" And then a few people were like, "Yeah, yeah, I got some booze or whatever." So then she says, "Well, do why don't we get together, a bunch of us, at my room and have some drinks?" So sure enough, I go back to the room. There's a bunch of us in the room, so it was felt safe and everything else. And I told her what floor and what room I'm at. And then eventually the friends start leaving. And then one friend's left, and she comes over to me and she's like, "Hey, look, please take care of her and don't take advantage of her." And I said, "No, I'm not going to do that." I said, "Here's my room. Here's my phone number. Here's my Instagram. You know where to find me. So just want to make sure your friend's safe." So then she leaves. And of course, it's me and the friend. And of course, you know what happens, right? We have sex and she leaves. We get together the next night. We have sex again. And then she leaves a few days later, right? So that's Toronto. Atlanta, last story. I was traveling for work again. So I made a reservation at this at this restaurant again by myself, and I go made this reservation at the bar in the restaurant, and it was kind of a nice restaurant. So I go, I sit down, and there's this blonde sitting beside me. So, like I said in some of my videos before, I don't engage right away. I give it a few minutes. So I sat down, ignored her, didn't say anything, and I could tell I was attracted to her. And so she didn't say anything either. Then after a few minutes, I look over at whatever she's eating or drinking. I make a comment, right? We engage in conversation, and then I find out, "What are you doing? Are you traveling?" Or like, "What brings you to Atlanta?" And she's like, "Oh, it's my birthday." And I'm like, "Score." So I said, uh, "Well, happy birthday." And I said, "Are you here with your friends, your family?" She's like, "No, I decided to do a solo trip by myself." I'm like, "Score." Right? I'm like, "Yeah, this is going to be interesting." So then, uh, towards the end of our meal, I said, "Well, look, what are you up to after this? Because if you're interested, I have tickets to, I was actually planning to go to this EDM nightclub, and I bought 2 tickets purposely in case I met somebody. So I said, look, I have these 2 tickets. One of them, I told a white lie. So one of them, I got, it was like a 2 for 1. So I got, so we can go to this place if you like. And she's like, I don't really feel like doing that. And I said, okay, well, why don't we grab a nightcap um, at a hotel nearby? Because I was kind of familiar with the area at this point. So we walk over to this hotel that was closing later. We have a nightcap. And then, of course, things are going well. She's into me. She's flirting. She's touching. I'm touching her. We're having a good time. And I said, hey, look, do you have any wine at your place? And she's like, no, shit, I don't have anything. And I said, well, I'll tell you what, why don't we grab a couple extra drinks and finish them off at your place if you like? She's like, okay. Yeah, score. So I cold approached her, just like the one. Okay, talking about cold approach, maybe forget Vegas because she was the one that engaged me first. But cold approach, Toronto and Atlanta, and they all had this in common. And I slept with all of those 3 different women, right? Different times. And they all had this in common. They were there traveling for work or for fun, right? They were into me, and they were only going to be there a few days. So that's guys, that's how you do it. That's how you go from cold approach to hooking up if that's what you want to do. And it's not going to work out all the time. It's been rare for me, but that's what happens. And that's, you need to target basically the ones that are there traveling for fun or for work in your city, and they're only there for a few days and they're into you. That's been my experience, but I want to hear from you in the comments. What do you think? What's worked for you if you've done this? And hope you liked the video, and we'll see you next time.